time for our next presentation before the panel before lunch. So let's get started with a topic that's very, very sexy right now in cybersecurity, which is bug bounty hunting. There's a lot of interest and a lot of hype around it, but probably many of you don't know where to start if you're interested in that kind of thing. So to make sure that you have a starting point and that you know how to kind of channel your energy and figure out, what this thing is all about, we have Lucian Mitescu, Senior IT Security Specialist from BitSentinel, one of the creators of the challenges in the Hacking Village, and obviously one of the longtime partners and key contributors to DefCamp since forever, basically. Lucian, welcome. Great to have you here. Let's dive right into it, shall we?
So, today I'm going to present a sort of recipe, or also known as a kill chain, for bug bounty hunting, vulnerability detection, which might help any beginner to start this path. So, first of all, as Andra already told, who am I? I'm a red team tech lead at BitSentinel. I got recently promoted. That's why it's not updated on the DefCamp website. I'm also a CTF organizer and challenge author for DefCamp, DCTF, the new King of the Camp challenge within the Hacking Village. Go ahead and check that out. I'm also organizer and challenge author at Unbreakable Romania. In the past, I was involved in the European Cybersecurity Challenge and the Romanian Cybersecurity Challenge. And also, because this talk is about bug bounty hunting, I am a bug bounty hunter at Bucharest, HackerOn, Integrity, and lately at Stinok. So why I do bug bounty? So as I write it there, infinite, never-ending learning tree path with endless possibilities. So it's an ongoing process to learn new things and to interact with technologies from a security perspective. Another reason is that I want to help others and other companies to be more secure, and why not appreciations? Because when you are doing bug bounty hunting with all the competition that I described later on, you get more appreciated than a regular security engineer, penetration testing, or insert any job title in there. So I'm also competition addicted, mainly because this field of the bug bounty is mainly competitive. For example, it's a real time, 17 minutes late for reporting a bounty means you get a duplicate and you don't earn no financial gain. You do not gain any financial gain. And most of the vulnerabilities are not even in the scope. So if you do not have a proof of concept, a workable, like a Python script that shows that specific vulnerability. And of course, you are at the same time against and within a sort of global community or team in order to help others protect their assets. Okay, it's also personal stress and boredom coping mechanism. Whenever I get stressed out or bored, I go ahead and do bug bounty. That's why before this presentation, I did some bug bounty. At some point in my life, I switched from online gaming to bug bounty just for the fun of it. And the last reason, in my opinion, it's the money that it brings. And let's go ahead. What triggered me to become a bug bounty? So I have here a comparison between a day-by-day regular job and a bug bounty program, let's say. Mainly at the regular job, I do not choose my clients. the company choose those for me. At bug bounty programs, I get to choose my own clients. I get to choose on what program I want to work on, what technology I want to get involved in. Even if I'm not skilled, it's a good opportunity to get that skill by doing actual penetration testing on that, on source code review. Why not? Another reason is that at a regular job, you cannot work for multiple companies at once and switch them tomorrow, because there are clients you have to finish their project in order to move to another one. While in bug bounty, most of the Fortune 500 companies are there. And you do not have to go to a hiring process or interact with any department. We have a program, you can read it, and you can start hacking or detecting actual vulnerabilities and reporting them in order to be fixed. A disadvantage, more teamwork, limited competition. At a regular job, you have more opportunities to learn basic stuff. While at the bug bounty programs, you get to test yourself and see if you are up to that task. Another benefit of bug hunting, it's of the regular job, is a fixed income, while I consider bug bounty hunting as an incentive on top of my fixed income. So I do not see myself moving towards a full bug bounty, let's say, career until now. But I get to bring, let's say, tested and validated vulnerabilities discovered in bug bounty programs within a day-by-day job. So, because I'm talking why I do consider as an incentive and not as a fixed income, what are my stats? So my all-time accuracy on, let's take those two platforms where I'm more active than the others. My all-time accuracy, it's over 90%, and this year accuracy is over 95%. Unfortunately, 1 out of 6.3 vulnerabilities that I reported are actually duplicates. That means that other researchers found them in the first place. So I know I'm doing a good job by detecting those, but they were already reported, and I don't gain any financial gain, but I do get points to get access to private programs. And that's where the main activity and the main income comes from. Over the past 5 years, I had discovered, or actually reported, we'll see that later, about 110 vulnerabilities. On average, even if I took a year off at some point, I'm about $2 per month, and I only spend 8 to 10 hours a week. So let's see how I'm doing that. So my recipe is short, and first rule of any recipe, either in cooking or either in trying to make a checklist or either in doing whatever you want in this world, there is no perfect recipe. And you have to add at some point your favorite ingredients in order to make it work. This presentation intends to present an automation that any beginner can do that tomorrow in order to get started with bug bounty hunting and maybe gain some financial gain or help him discover duplicates vulnerabilities that will allow him to gain access to, let's say, 10 or 20 private programs. In general, my bug bounty hunting experience with any program starts with the scope and defining an approach. Mainly, my approach is already defined. I look for web application targets. You'll see why. and then I will draft that approach, execute, let's say, a testing methodology, filter the results, and report only those that count. And of course, at the end, you have to improve, enrich your tooling, and then maintain a schedule in order to be successful. And maintaining it's, let's say, the hardest part of them all. So defining scope. It starts by looking at one of those bug bounty platforms or any others like CNAC or Integrity. But I took as example one from HackerOne, which you can start tomorrow. You can register there. You can go to the identity validation process, and then you can start hunting on bugs. And if you can already see there, this example is about PayPal, which is a public program. And down in the right corner, you can see the payment statistics. Over the years, PayPal as a company paid over $6.5 million in bounty rewards to security researchers that found vulnerabilities or even 0 days in their application or assets. Okay. So my research about defining a scope. Mainly I like web application. I do focus on that. There are, let's say, less than 100 programs that are interesting to me or to us, or depends. An unknown number of private programs, because of course they're private. Let's say I have access to more in range of tens to up to hundreds. There are about, so from those 100 public programs, you have domains and subdomains that are in scope. Most of the times are only fixed targets, like that application or another one. But you also have programs that contain wildcard domains, as you see that example. It includes all subdomains of example.tld. At first look, if you are going to scan today, you are going to see about 1.5 million web application, which you can start testing today. From which, let's say, around 600,000 are web application after a quick filtering. For example, I filtered out the Tumblr blogs and WordPress blogs, because you do not want to test those as an individual asset due to the fact that it uses the same code base. So you might want to skip those and focus on what's unique and what's interesting and what can allow you from a probability point of view to find a bug. Okay, so going forward, this is a fun fact. If I would really get myself involved in this bug bounty hunting more than 10 hours a week, let's say for 5 days per target, at 600,000 targets, it will take me 5 days, divided that by how many days in a month, divided by that by how many, roughly approximation actually, of how many months are in a year. It's about 8,000 years. So I don't have enough time for that one. Minus of course, the targets is the same code base or identical targets. Moving forward, I would like to point out that maybe as a student or beginner in the security field, it's a good approach to start with bug bounty hunting, because it gives you experience. No other company is going to provide you from tomorrow or today 600 targets to play with, or any cyber lab will not be able to provide that in a second. You can start today. You can learn from experts. You can look for presentation by other bug bounty hunters. Everyone is willing to share and give you an insight of what they are doing in this hunting and how you can get more performance. Because at 600,000 targets, only on public programs, we really need that help. In fact, and companies need that help, and they are willing to pay thousands of dollars in order to get that help. And there is no time for, as you will see later on in this presentation, for keeping secrets. So next, define scope. First of all, you have to respect the rules of the program. You have to read those, you have to remember those, you have to take notes in order to ensure that you are not targeting the wrong asset or you are not causing any damage to that specific program. If you go out of scope, it's your mistake and your mistake only. You have to be enough informed before you start doing any sorts of bug bounty hunting, and the bug bounty description is there for you to read. If you do not understand that bug bounty description, you have to ask and understand it from the bounty platform that provides that description. So moving on, mainly today I'm going to explain basic hunting methodology or recipe for using project discovery tools, which are all open source, and most of this information can be found on Google or by following the right people on Twitter. So it's no secret of what I'm showing today. It's just shown in a, let's say, easy to follow way to get you started. So this is how my scope looks. In general, I have for every bug bounty platform Python script that handles all the data from the bounty description, and I only allow in their programs that I already researched into and I am aware of all their rules. If one bounty program does not fit within that rule, I'm going to skip it or postpone and make a fork of that script in order to be sure I'm targeting the right assets. So in general, I have roots, which is, let's say, any wildcard domain goes in there. Targets are fixed assets like web applications, and out of scope, of course, means out of scope applications. And of course, over the time while doing research, I made a list, like a permanent out of scope filtering list of keywords that I do not want to waste my time on it and test them. Or maybe I want to postpone them in order to take them manually, in order to not cause damage, but still find bugs that I can later on report. So this is how subdomain search using Subfinder looks like in one line. You go for those wildcard subdomains and you save them in a file, and then you concatenate those files and you have a big scope of 600 targets. It could be improved. That's why you have to add your ingredients to this presentation. And this is how I filter out my targets in a long ago bash script. So I get those subdomains in that txt file. I get the Autoscope, and I just grab them out in order to get only the targets that I'm interested within. Later on, after I have all the subdomains, I take in consideration finding ports. And for that, I'm using Nabu. You can also use Nmap. It's term of flavor, let's say. And the main idea is to find all web application runnings on all ports, on all subdomains. For example, you can have a subdomain like hackerone.com, which has 4 web ports, as shown in the example over there from a screenshot of the project actually. And you want to scan those, to include those in your scans. Moving forward, I'm going to identify them if they are HTTPS or HTTP targets in order to make sure I'm communicating over the same protocol. And this information is not so new. It's been for years within the community. If you are going to search for tweets showing that, it will be, let's say, starting from 2 years or 3 years ago. Everyone was doing that in a form or another, using one tool or another. It's a term of flavor. And if you did that until now, well, that's awesome and great. You did a good job, but at the same time, it is wrong and incomplete. And why I'm saying that is because it takes time to be at the right place at the right time to find that one issue that will get paid within a bug bounty program. So back to my recipe. This is how I run HTTPX in order to determine if I'm looking for HTTP targets or HTTPS targets. And if you take a closer look, I'm using Axiom scan. So you probably wonder what Axiom is, because I never thought that before. So it's not Axiom spaceship from WALL-E, but it helps you to break walls efficiently. And why I'm saying that, you'll see later on in this presentation. So if you want to search that on Google, you'll have to say Axiom GitHub, and you'll only get 87 results. That's how popular this project is, but it helps a lot. You will know it if you are following the right people on the Twitter community, or bug bounty Twitter community. We are going to see that further on. But what's Axiom now? Pretty much, I want to say about Axiom, it's like a legal VPS supported botnet that you can set up today at your own expenses without hacking any system, so legally. And it helps you use multiple systems in order to scan a target from different IP addresses. How it works, pretty much you select a provider. In that example, I have DigitalOcean. You create 100 droplets or virtual private servers. Instead of DigitalOcean, can be any hosting company you want, and that which provides VPS. Axiom provides you a framework. You can set up and expand that framework with any distributor you want. You have, at that point, when you have those 100 servers, at that point you have 100 IPs and pay per hour usage. So if your scan takes 5 hours, you only pay for 5 hours, because that's the cloud that we are living in. And it outputs all the results in a single place, mainly either on your host or on a bridged server that you use in order to launch those scans. So what are the Axiom benefits in this bug bounty world? So let's say for about $1, that's an exact approximation over the last year expenses that I got. You throw to trash a few security limitations like rate limits, country restricted assets, some web application firewalls that are looking for content or multiple hits in order to trick that application firewall and block you from that specific target, some port scanning limitations, and so on and so forth. Also note that you should not use that for illegal activities, as the VPS provider will provide logs in case of incidents, and they are willing to do so because you are using their infrastructure. Mainly, I make like 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes of the data traffic a week. So they will be more easy to skip me for, let's say, $5 a week, instead of providing those services at a low cost and using their traffic and so on and so forth. So they have all interest to get rid if you are doing illegal activities. Of course, they're all interest to keep you if you are doing legal activities and you are following the bug bounty programs and their rules. Moving forward, and back to our recipe, this is how I launched on those HTTPX scans. But first, we have to request 100 servers, let's say, from DigitalOcean. And this is an example. With command on line 2, you set up in minutes 100 servers in regions across the world. For example, DigitalOcean supports 11 or 12 if they open that new data center. And then you have to launch that scan. And then you sort out all unique targets and you save it in a file. Now you have a pretty long file that you can, of web application that you can start researching and looking for bugs into. What the heck is Nuclei? Pretty much it's a scanning tool. It takes templates in YAML format. For example, here we have a YAML template for looking for Amazon secret tokens, and it's doing only a GET request on / and it's doing a regex in order to find that secret token. This is let's say pretty hard to find rule, but even that one, which is the example on GitHub on their page, I managed to find it twice in those 600 targets over the previous month. Now moving forward, this is how you run this scan. It's only you have a list of web targets as our output was shown before, and you run it on it, and you find affected assets within the bounty limitation and scope. Okay, so how powerful is this tool? So almost any CVE present for the past 1 year or 2 years on HackerOne comes from Nuclei scans. How do I know that? Is that they are providing the same request as one within the templates. So every cookie and header, it's the same as one from the Nuclei templates or the public repository of those. It's open source. It has 277 contributors. It covers over 800 CVEs, from which 300 and other vulnerabilities, and from which 300 are rated as critical. If you find those, most of the time if it's not going to be a false positive because, hey, this is scanning, is going to be rewarded. Then you have other vulnerabilities that you have to manually look into and understand and provide a proof of concept in order to submit it to a bug bounty program. It has to have an impact, a confidentiality, integrity, or a viability impact. And most of the time, a viability in bug bounty, it's ignored because they consider as non-rewardable vulnerabilities. So that's it. You can use that in order to understand and take all the action in order to improve your reporting success. It has a 5-minute tutorial that allows you to write any rule for any vulnerability on a web application. because it's a tool designed for web application. Of course, it has some rules for protocols that provide banner response like SSH, but that's version grabbing. If you are going to report that to a bug bounty program, it's going to be ignored because it does not have a functional proof of concept in order to gain a result. So what I recommend to you, of course, is to keep a private repository of rules that no one else has or are not aware at that time. And after doing the bounty research and over, let's say, a month or two, you should deprecate those and share it with the community to a better, safer, and secure environment within the world. Okay, so here are some. It's actually on one faster. Okay, here's an example of how do you run a scan with this. It's a one-liner. I had to split it on two. You provide the target, use the module, you launch the scan, you get the results. And of course, here I'm looking for cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. The recipe in one slide is that I'm sending files to Axiom. I'm using their module to get the final results. And you'll say, yes, but this is kind of how good it is. So I run some experiments on a while-through approach from this month, and I managed to get two duplicates, another 30. They are there for months. You'll see later. Those results will give you access to private programs. I got 3 informational bugs, 2 triggered bugs that are still pending review, that are reflected cross-site scriptings, and 1 bounty. So just by doing this scan, you can do it today or tomorrow. You might hit 1 or 2 vulnerabilities or hit 30 vulnerabilities, which give you access to private programs, which allows you to find more vulnerabilities and earn more money. So the rule is try harder, find out why it's working for me and what it should work for you and what you are adding on that in order to start hunting today. It's not enough. Reporting, it has to be clean, it has to be to provide a proof of concept, it has to provide information. Most of the time I search for reports on HackerOne because most of the time they are public when it's output from a scanning tool. And sometimes I hypothetically ask a friend, like you see there, helping me out with the SSRIF vulnerability that I managed to get the bounty on. And moving forward, it's not enough. Reporting, you have to keep track of all your information. I keep track of all my Burp Suite projects. I keep track of templates for reporting a vulnerability in order to have let's say, a cool-looking report and understandable and which answer to all questions, and that helped me out to score this bounty. So you can see 25 minutes ago, at some point in time, I reported a vulnerability, and a few minutes later, like 10 or 15, like that, I got the bounty. That's how fast it could. From days, you switch to minutes. That's your own scope, and you want to do a proper reporting. It's not enough tooling. There are 60 other modules within Axiom you can integrate and use. There are 50 other integrated and potentially 100 other tools and things you can add on top of this recipe to help you find bugs. They are there. I gave 2 examples. Go ahead and check them out. And keep an eye on the Twitter feed for bug bounty tips and new CVEs. And of course, you should get into programming and automation by doing so. Of course, there are other tools like Recon for the win, which provides you some of those tools as I described in this recipe. But it's limited. It's very, let's say, fixed. If you want to add something new on top, you'll struggle with the framework itself instead of using that time in order to find vulnerabilities. Do not stop here. All I provided has either bugs or deficiencies. Nothing is out of the box. You have to research into it. It is up to you to fix them and test and enrich them in order to get successful in this field. You have to try harder and let's say if you have any questions or something like that, ping me or give me a follow on Twitter. And now that I finally ended this presentation, here are the Q&A if there are any questions.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Lucian. That has been really comprehensive, and you've had so many details that were in there that were super actionable and very helpful. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions because we're a bit behind and we're trying to catch up with everyone. So thank you for this presentation. You do have a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm sure that everyone watching will want an answer, and I'll tell them.
Go ahead and put it on there.
Perfect.